Yes, people, welcome back to the 1894 for a Real Madrid versus Manchester City Champions League semi-final second leg preview. We are 4-3 up on aggregate and we go to the Bernabeu full of confidence. Let's get into our thoughts. Okay, Rebel, we travel to the Santiago Bernabeu, one of football's most infamous stadiums in the world, the home of the 13-time European Cup champions in Real Madrid. But we are off the back of a big Premier League win over Leeds in the weekend, a blockbuster win over Real Madrid last week. The tie is not dead. Real Madrid have just won La Liga on the weekend. Congratulations to them. They should be full of confidence. And we are still in the midst of a Premier League title race. But this game is all that matters right now. We are within 2 games of winning the Champions League in theory. We should be going out there full of confidence, knowing that we put 4 past them last week. Chelsea put 3 past them in the Bernabeu last time. I think something to bear in mind here is, and you can give your thoughts when you're giving your overall thoughts, is the Bernabeu is not really a massive fortress, if you like, the way it used to be, and they've got a lot of the sections closed off in the stadium for construction. I think this is a good time to be going to Madrid, and we've also beaten them the last 3 times we've played them. What are you thinking?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's not really full of atmosphere. Like I was saying, they're still good, but we were watching the Chelsea match. I think me and Joe had it on, and it was dead. Like there wasn't really much doing to it all atmosphere-wise. And like you said, Chelsea hit them for 3. We've hit them for 4. We should have hit them for more. Realistically, it doesn't matter if, like, obviously Casemiro wasn't there. It doesn't matter. We still should have hit them for 4. This tie should be dead and buried. But, you know, I'm going in confident. There's no reason I should look at that and say we're not confident. We're going in. We got another win in the Premier League as well. We're flying coming in. We're coming in on some great form. And, like, if we get through, God forbid, if we get through, like, you know what I mean? I know I'm thinking about it already. We watched Liverpool tonight. It's a good... I'm really confident, like, this year just for the Champions. I'm really confident now. I know it's going to be ended tomorrow, but I'm dead confident. Don't know why.
I think there will possibly be a sense of disappointment. In fact, there will be a sense of disappointment from the City camp last week. I think they will definitely feel they should have killed Real Madrid last week. We've left them alive. We've left Real Madrid with the door open to get themselves back into the game, and they'll feel with their home crowd behind them, the fact they scored 3 goals in the Etihad last week, there's a massive opportunity for them to get us tomorrow night in the Bernabeu. But the thing is, we have scored 8 goals in our last 2 games, and the fact that we scored 4 against them last time, I would like to think that our team and Pep will just be massively hungry going into this. What do you think?
100%. I mean, De Bruyne had a quote there earlier. He said if we play any worse than we did in Manchester, we'll get knocked out. And I think he is right. If we go out and play the same way defensively as we did last time, we're getting dunced. You know what I mean? They have too many good attacking outputs to be that open. Like, we got spun 3 or 4 times. Wasn't just Fernandinho, just the whole defence was spun a few times. I thought the defensive awareness as well from 2 centre halves with Dyer. Like, but again, I'm going in clear mind. There's a chance Walker's back. That could kind of mop up. I don't think we've predicted him to play, but having him in there, if he is in there, will be a great plus for it.
In terms of going forward, I want just the exact same from last week. I want the exact same going forward. I thought going forward, we were absolutely, almost perfect. We just didn't score all our chances, but that's kind of the tail of the season really for City, isn't it? Not taking our chances. But we created enough chances and we still scored 4. And I said in the preview last week, and I say the exact same this week, I stand by it, that just overrun them in the midfield and we will dominate this game. The intensity and the energy of De Bruyne and Bernardo is what proved to be the deciding factor in us winning last week's game, and I think that it should be the deciding factor in this week's game. I'm not disregarding Kroos and Modric, like I said the exact same last week. I'm not disregarding 2 world-class players in their own right, have been for so long, but I think they just can't cope with the energy and intensity. They haven't played against a midfield as fast-paced as ours, and that's why we dictate the midfield last week. They took their chances, credit to them. Now, in terms of team news, we got the news today, like you touched on briefly there. Kyle Walker has trained with the Man City team as of today. His fitness obviously won't be fantastic, but you also have to bear in mind he was only out for 2 weeks, so can it be that bad? Is Pep going to risk him? I don't know, and that's something I think you guys should leave your thoughts down below in the comments. Would you like to see Kyle Walker play? Obviously, your heart says play him because he is the best man to play against Vinicius. Vinicius proved to be a serious problem on our right side last week for anybody who was up against. Stones looked pretty nervy against him last week. I think a lot of that's probably to do with the fact that Stones wasn't fit. He probably shouldn't have played. And Fernandinho defensively really had an awful time against him. Credit to Fernandinho, it's not his position and he was given a tough task. He was the only man really available for it. But Vinicius is the main man. Keep him quiet and you're kind of nullifying a lot of Real Madrid's chances. Now, obviously, another note is that we do have the return of Cancelo, who was suspended last week. And I would be, much more confident in Cancelo in a defensive nature against Vinicius. We've seen comments from other wingers around the world. Jared Bowen said last week that Cancelo is the toughest fullback he's played against all season. That's a massive defensive compliment for Cancelo. We know how good he is going forward, but tomorrow night's task for Cancelo is going to be how well can he fare defensively against one of the best wingers in the world. So I think having him coming back into the squad will be massive for us going forward, as it always is, Rebel. But I'm expecting a massive defensive shift from him, possibly a bit more than he's used to.
I think defensively he's always been dead on the radar. I remember, I think it was last season when obviously there were no fans there. We play Liverpool at home. He had Salah in his back pocket. He's done that to plenty of players. Again, you touched on it. Bowen didn't like playing against him at all. He's a fantastic defender. Like it gets brushed under the rug because of how good he is going forward. But I think now, personally, this could be an unpopular opinion, but his attacking output over the last maybe month or so has been just him taking pot shots. It's not been great at all. I think the real highlight has come from his defensive work. Obviously, bar Leeds, where he kind of tripped up a few times, but I think he's well capable of going out and doing the job. That's what we were discussing earlier. Do we put Walker in? Do we not put Walker in? He can get 45 minutes, Walker, definitely, but I don't think he's there well suited enough coming off 2 weeks of no football to just throw him in the deep end and play. And if that's the case, then you have to have Cancelo in there, and Cancelo's more than capable of doing the job. He'll definitely put in a very good shift. Like, again, it's such an underrated defender. Like, I know his game is going forward, but he has a defensive bag, like.
Also, something to bear in mind defensively is because I think defensively, or our defence is our main concern. I'm never too concerned about defence because I trust all our defenders to always do a pretty decent job. But it's just the attacking outlets that Real Madrid have. I mean, I know we have that 1-goal lead, but if Real Madrid get the first one, the floodgates could really open, because then we start chasing and we start panicking kind of thing. And with Benzema up front for them, anything's possible. Diaz is a weak fitter. He's played another game against Leeds. He should be that bit sharper. Let's call a spade here, people. Diaz looked poor against Real Madrid last week. And you kind of have to give him allowance as well for being poor, because the guy wasn't fit. He was out for 6 weeks and was given one of the toughest jobs in world football in trying to nullify Karim Benzema. So you can't really slate him too much for it, but he is that bit fitter. He's another week's training under his belt. He's had that Leeds game under his belt, and he should be that bit sharper. He's a man that's going to have to be a leader in the Bernabeu, and he's going to have to be as defensively sound as he's ever been. But I think for us, the main men outside the defence, we're going to need just massive shifts from the midfield, which we believe will be Rodri, Bernardo and Gundo, or Rodri, Bernardo and De Bruyne, and we'll get into our predicted 11 when we get there. But if we can dominate this midfield for large parts of this game, we should be winning this, and I think we're coming into it at a good time in terms of being clinical, if you know what I mean, scoring 8 goals in our last 2 games. Jesus, all credit to him. He's someone we've all been critics of on this channel for a long time. He's in unbelievable goal scoring form right now, and I'm very happy that he's come into this form at this stage of the season, fighting for his career, fighting for to stay at City if that's what he wants. I think it is what he wants. He's putting in a good shift and putting up his hand to be retained at the club. So we'll talk about him as well. The starting 11, we expect him. We need him to be clinical. If he wants to be the main man and he wants to stay at the club, it's these kind of games, and I think he's proved he can. But listen, get all your thoughts down below in the comments on your thoughts going into this game and that sort of thing. We're going to get over to our predicted starting 11, because I think that's the most interesting part of this preview. So let's get over to it now. Okay, we're going to pop up our predicted starting 11 for this game on screen for you to see right now. As always, do get involved down below in the comments. Is there anyone you don't want to see, anyone you would change, anyone you would like to see? We've gone with Ederson and Nets as always. There's no debate over that. I'm not even going to have that conversation. He is the man to play in this. He's massive for us going forward as well as stopping shop, so he's the man. We've gone with Cancelo at right back on this occasion because we just think Pep may not want to risk Kyle Walker. I think you could see Walker come on maybe around the 60-minute mark just to shore things up. If Vinicius is looking potent, you might want to give Walker that 30 minutes. Say, listen, we don't need you bombing forward. We don't need you helping us out in attack. Just keep that guy quiet. Stop that guy getting in behind us and causing trouble. Diaz and Laporte, I think, are the obvious options. John Stones has travelled with the squad to Madrid, but he's ruled out from playing. So I'd say he's just brought out there as a senior figure of the squad, really, at this point, isn't he? He's going to be a voice in the dressing room. He's got plenty of experience now. So having him there will be good. But the lads on the pitch will be Diaz and Laporte. And like I spoke about earlier in the show, Diaz is a week fitter in his progression. And a week is a long time in a professional footballer's career. He's a game and more training sessions and whatnot. I trust Laporte as always. I think Laporte's had a relatively good season, in fairness to him. Very unfortunate last week with that penalty decision. I thought, from what I've read anyway, I mean, you can all give me your own opinions on what the actual rules are. Is that if the ball deflects off your head and onto your hand, it's not a penalty. But listen, what's done is done. No point in crying over spilt milk, classic. Zinchenko, we've gone with the left back. Could very well be Nathan Ake. Played very well against Leeds, and he's played very well all season, Nathan Ake. But we've gone with Zinchenko based off the fact that he's playing relatively well. He did a pretty good job last week, I think, overall, Zinchenko, and Pep kind of trusts him even in these situations. Well, it's a pretty good back four. I would always like to see Kyle Walker, but I don't think he will start. I don't think he'll start, but he will feature, I think.
Ideal world, he starts 100% of the time. I think he's our best defensive fullback at the club, easily, without a doubt. Maybe even overall, perhaps taking everything into account, maybe the best overall defender at the club. But I don't think you can throw him in the deep end, especially like you saw what happened to Stones. He was just thrown in and he came off with the injury. It's not worth the risk. Diaz, you said he was very... I wouldn't even call him shy last week. I just call him very rusty. You know what I mean? I thought just his reading of the game was off, like where to place passes, where to get in front of the ball. I thought it was just off. But again, you said weak footer. That's the main part of it. The weak footer is really going to turn him around. Laporte, I agree with you. I think, having seen some of the rules after, it's if the ball comes directly off a body part and then hits your hand, it can't be a penalty. It could be the same thing where it's like, different from the Premier League to the Champions League. It's a lot of shit. Football's football. You can't have different rules in different competitions. Zinchenko, I thought was fantastic, except for his distribution. That could be the only thing that I'm sat there worried about, because Cancelo's pass, and again, we looked at Leeds, we talked about it afterwards, his passing was very poor in that game. So if you're having two fullbacks that keep giving the ball away, that is the only thing. But I wouldn't mind seeing a bit of Nathan Ake, but it doesn't really matter either way.
I don't think Zinchenko will be given as much license to run forward this time round as he was last week. You know, with John Stones and Fernandinho being the right back last week, I think Zinchenko was essentially given the sort of Cancelo role. But with Cancelo being back, Zinchenko will most likely stay back a bit more defensively, more of the time anyway. He still will go forward, but probably not as much as he did last week. So I trust Cancelo and his distribution to be more impactful this time round. Moving into midfield, this is where it's really important. As I say every single time, every single big game, win the midfield battle, you're more likely to win the game. This is the engine room for us. This is what will make our team tick, and this is what will get us through to the final, God willing. We've gone with Rodri over Fernandinho. I think I don't really need to have that conversation anymore. Fernandinho is just not up for it anymore. He's too old, and we love him, he's a legend and whatnot, but Rodri has shown the consistency to take over that role, and he's doing a pretty good job. He's been relatively consistent all season. Rodri was very good last week, I think, for the most part against Real Madrid. Bernardo and De Bruyne are the two men that I will want to highlight as the troublemakers, if you like, for Real Madrid. I just think with the age of the Real Madrid midfield, and I want to stress it further, I'm not disrespecting these fantastic players. I just think we should use it to our advantage and make it their Achilles, is the intensity and the energy of Bernardo, particularly Bernardo, but of course De Bruyne too, who was unbelievable in midfield last week at times. Unbelievable. They should put pressure on the Madrid defence whenever they're in possession, and they should drive forward at serious pace whenever we're in possession. And that's something that these guys do week in, week out. So if they play their usual game to a high standard, they should cause Real Madrid serious trouble. Because I thought Real Madrid defensively are quite poor and are there to be got at. We know they're missing David Alaba, who's a massive player in that area of the pitch. So that could be another benefit for us. I don't know, you can give your thoughts. But the midfield, I trust this trio to do a good job. If all three of these players have at least a 7 out of 10, if not higher, I believe we will go to the final.
Yeah, I 100% agree. But there's one thing that has to be said this week. There is a Casemiro blocking that. I think he's fantastic and he's such an underrated player. But you're gonna have to be on the three boys gonna have to be on top of the game. I mean, I stand by Rodri is the best holding midfielder in the world, but you take Casemiro out of that Madrid team last week, you saw how open they were. It's like if you take last Champions League final, for example, we didn't have a DM and we were horribly open. It was exactly like looking at that for Madrid last week, but they have their anchor back, so we're going to need to be on top of our game even more so. But I do believe you are right. I think the energy was overrun Modric, Kroos and Casemiro, and that's, like you said, no disrespect to them. Age catches up with everybody, unfortunately, and it's not turning around saying they're bad footballers, it's turning around saying they just don't have the energy. Well, hopefully they don't have the energy to stop the two of them. But I do think, like you said, 7 out of 10, we should be progressing. I think you're right. And I'm confident in the two. And I know, I've been a naysayer of De Bruyne for a while. That man's turned up. That man's turned up when we needed him. He's here to stay. Bernardo, hopefully he's here to stay as well, because Jesus Christ, he is fantastic. You can't take him out of the team.
Also with Casemiro, similar to when we got Diaz back and everyone was going, oh, Diaz just breathes this aura of calmness into the team and, he makes everyone feel more confident. Real Madrid will get a massive psychological boost from having Casemiro back in the team. He's one of the leaders of their dressing room. He obviously is a phenomenal player, very well accomplished. So be wary of an extra element of I don't know, confidence from Real Madrid, if you like. I don't even know how you describe it. He just breeds an aura of confidence, I suppose, into the team. Moving into the front three, we've gone with the three most informed players, if you like, going forward for us at the time. I think it's the most obvious front three that you can choose. Foden on the left, maybe didn't have his best game against Real Madrid last week. I know some people believe he was fantastic. Some people believe he didn't contribute enough. I thought he was pretty good. We've got him on the left and Jesus through the middle. I think this is another massive, massive game for Jesus. And I think the fact that Jesus is playing with that added pressure of needing to perform to basically fight for his career, whether that's at City or at another top club, is giving him what he needs to do well. He's scoring a lot of goals recently, far more than he usually does, consistently. And then we've got Mahrez on the right, who is obviously a big game player. He missed a big chance last week, Mahrez, and I think he'll want to rectify that this week. So we've got him on the right. He's a Champions League player. He's a big game player. If these front three are clinical tomorrow night, it's going to be a tough time for the Madrid defence.
Yeah, that's going to be enough service for them. Like you said, De Bruyne is on top form. The other three around the person who's scoring as well are going to be fantastic. Like Jesus, I stand by my opinion on the fact that he's too inconsistent. But when someone turns up like this and shows that dog, shows that fight, wants to be in the team constantly, then you have to turn around and say maybe there's a case for them staying. It's definitely something for another video. But you have to turn around and say if he's playing like this with his career on the line, then maybe you should say, and he definitely deserves to be starting. Foden last week, I know you said you thought he was pretty good. I thought he was piss poor. I think he missed a couple of golden opportunities. Fair enough, he scored the one. Just didn't think he overall contributed very well. But we'll say this for him: he was fantastic in the midfield against Leeds. So that's ever and we need to do. He should be playing there. Mahrez again missed one golden opportunity. And then scuffed another one or two, and then every time he missed one, Madrid would go up and score, which is typical. But big game player has to be there. Same with Foden, same with De Bruyne, same with everyone in the team. This is what we have available. This is our best team, 100%.
Foden, I'd almost put him similar to Bernardo and De Bruyne in what I'd want, just relentless energy, constant running, constant pressing. You know what you're getting with Jesus. He will press high. He will give energy. And that's what will win us this game. And it's what does win us most games is our energy and our intensity and our pressing high. But then you just have to be careful at the back with the pacey players that Madrid have going forward, and Vinicius and Rodrigo or whoever plays for them. But listen, I think we're going to need our leaders to stand up here. We're going to need to take the pain of last year's Champions League final and just use that as momentum and hunger to go forward and get into this year's Champions League final. And I think it will. I think it will show. It's going to be a very exciting game. I think it's two great teams, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Before we wrap it up, score predictions. Who is going to score, and what is your score prediction?
2-1 City, Mahrez anytime.
Mahrez anytime. Said like a proper bookkeeper there. I'm going to go with 3-1 City, and I'm going to predict a Gabriel Jesus goal, just based off his recent form. Get your score predictions down below in the comments and tell us who you think might score. Are you excited for the game? We are doing a watch along for the game. Do come and join us live. Get into the chat. Give us all your thoughts. Give us any of your pre-match conceptions, any of that kind of stuff. We're looking forward to being there, and we'll see you then. Leave a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and good night and God bless.